Thank you everyone for tuning in to this episode of Cashflow Coffee. I'm your host, Hunter King. Today we have a special guest with us today. Pat Slack is the broker and owner of Century21 Midlands, and he does a lot of work throughout the Midwest, primarily focused on commercial real estate sales. Pat, before we get into a lot of the topics today, why don't you give everyone an introduction on your career and how you got started in real estate?
Will do. Easy on the special part, by the way, buddy. I'm nothing special, just a regular old guy. Let's go back in history. Walk with me here just a little bit, Hunter. I was 20 years old, 19 years old when I first got into the real estate business. And essentially how it happened, man, is, I went to about one semester of college and figured out that that wasn't for me. I was not wired to be in a pen surrounding, if you will, And so I thought, well, gosh, man, maybe I ought to go to auction school. I had this really big kick about auctioneering, and I have a little bit of an agricultural background, growing up in a small town and raising livestock with my dad, and decided, I'm going to go to auction school. So that following summer, I went to auction school, 14 days, by the way, and I got my diploma, Hunter, and I was an auctioneer, man. And essentially what they taught you at school is how to conduct a successful auction. Sure, they taught us how to chant, do our normal, lingo that we always do. The fast talking is what everybody likes to call it. $1, $2, $3. But you learn the business. Well, it wasn't 1 month after I got out of auction school that a little old lady in Gibbon, Nebraska said, "Hey, Pat, I'm moving to assisted living facility here in Gibbon, and I need to get rid of my stuff. Oh, by the way, I need to sell my house too." Oh man, I looked at myself in the mirror, thought, I don't have my license to do real estate. So immediately I crash coursed it. I took 2 solid weeks in Lincoln and did the crash course all week long for 2 solid weeks and sat for the exam and passed and rock and roll. And that's really how I got into the business, is went and did what I wanted to do. I had the passion for it, had the heart for it, and you just go. I just took matters into my own hands, and away we went. And so I've been doing that ever since. And for now about 21 years, that's what I've done. It's the only thing I've ever done.
Okay.
So I'm an uneducated man with a lot of spirit and a lot of hard knocks.
There you go. Do you think a lot of that experience working on your own and kind of almost by mistake running into that situation of having to sell someone's home, did that kind of attribute, or do you attribute that to your entrepreneurial personality? Because right now you're leading a whole team and you got a whole team working. Kind of explain the progress through there.
Hunter, you ask great questions. And for full disclosure, for anybody that's going to watch this, Hunter knows me well. You guys are learning about me, and I'm just going to make it now. I'm a very unfiltered individual. There's not a lot of PC going on with Pat Slack. And, we got to always be careful in what we say and what we do, and especially how we conduct ourselves. That's always, professionalism is a big standard in my office with my staff and my other agents here. They know that. I preach that every day. But the way I feel about it, Hunter, is by not going to college, I was able to not be propagandized with things. I had to figure things out for myself. I had to learn things for myself. And yes, I'm a very hands-on guy. I learn well by having failures. Failures are a part of success, and I've had a lot of them. I've had to learn the hard way, but a lot of that comes with accountability too. So those things that I knew I made a mistake on, I own up to them. And I think that what that did was really train me to be responsible with people and their goals and their needs. And yes, this comes easier for some people than it does others. And so I always say that one of my God-given talents is to kind of help people navigate through their needs and do it respectfully and into their interest, not mine. And I've always taken the approach, if you take care of somebody the way they need to be taken care of, and the goal is reached, that your paycheck's always going to come when you're self-employed. That's just, it's tried and true all the time. And another example of that, Hunter, would be There's times where I've represented estates, multiple siblings in that estate, hard to get along with everybody. And so I have to, there's different roles being a broker that a true broker. Okay. I'm not an order buyer. That's not what I am. I'm somebody that can diagnose and sit down with a group of people or individual and say, hey, we have our real estate needs here. How can you help us? I diagnose that and offer multiple avenues and things and just have that conversation and move forward. But I've had family members from the estate send me a check a week after closing and said, I didn't earn enough, and comes out of the blue. I mean, it's $1,000 here, $1,500 there. I did my job and I did it well, and they were satisfied with that, and that's ultimately at the end of the day all that matters.
Okay, that's awesome. When you're walking your clients through the real estate process, whether they're trying to get rid of real estate or they're looking for something specific in this current market, how are you kind of navigating their thoughts? Because right now, a lot of people are really uncertain. Real estate is the most expensive it's ever been, at least in recent history. How are you able to navigate that with your clients?
This is, yes, I've never seen a market that we're in my entire career. And I talked to some of these older agents around and other colleagues from different offices, other brokers, and it's likewise. I mean, it's not like we're dealing with 18% interest like they did in 1982 and 81. We just have a supply problem. But to bring this together so people understand, we have the perfect storm. Typically in Kearney, Nebraska, where I'm at, like in 2008, other housing bubble that come and crashed or whatever, Kearney, Nebraska was actually insulated from that. Okay. I have never seen anything but a seller's market here in Kearney. It has always favored the seller. However, I've never seen it heavily favor the seller as it's doing now. Okay. And what I mean by the perfect storm, I mean, here you go. You got lumber prices going up. Okay. You had COVID, who we missed our spring inventory last year, that we were already short listings or inventory. And by people, because of that fear of this pandemic and this disease or this virus, decided not to list. So we missed all that stuff. And now you throw in the political sector. Okay. And those three things have just come together right now and have really, really stirred the pot and created fear. Okay. A lot of people operating on fear and anxiety. And with technology comes that wonder and that want of information. Okay. And I've noticed that people have anxiety until they get that information. People can't just take a step back and process and be patient and get ready to, what I call, go for the kill. You have to be in that. So what I do is offer hope and get people in their minds. And sometimes they don't like to hear the information, but everybody down the road always thanks me. Slack, thanks for slowing it down. Slack, thanks for telling us everything we didn't want to hear but needed to hear. And that's a lot of it. That's what it truly is. And essentially, I probably talk more people out of not buying things than buying things, just because, I want to sleep at night. I want to do the right thing. And it's, if I take care of these people, guess what they're going to say to their friends or family or coworker, and to help me continue to be successful with somebody else. It is a huge relationship thing. And I think and I call myself a young guy, but I see that's what's done with this virus and COVID. Everybody's living in fear on something. I don't know if it's really fearable. Sometimes the word I like to use is scamdemic, and we have to be able to risk assess for ourselves, not have somebody tell us what to be fearful of. I mean, everybody has their own concerns, worries, and fear, but everybody does make decisions on emotion and fear. That's how they make their decisions. Absolutely. And I just address them and walk them through those particular, it really sometimes has nothing to do with the property. It's just personal situations, financial abilities, things of that nature to get them through. I know that was a long answer, but that explains what I needed to explain so people can understand it, your listeners can understand it.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you as far as, I mean, let's go back a year and everyone was quick to go ahead and shut everything down. We didn't really have a full scope of the issue that we were dealing with. And to me, from a personal perspective, it was almost irresponsible to let health officials dictate what the broader economy was going to do in order to get us through that. I think individuals should be able to take that research that the CDC and the FDA put out and be able to make their own decisions. And included in that is, do I want to open up and go to work today? Do I want to bring my employees in? And everyone has a choice whether or not they want to do that. But shutting the economy down so quickly and really messing up the entire supply chain, how do you think that's going to affect real estate going forward within the next 1 to 5 years?
Well, I tell you what, this is not a short-term fix of what's going on. I do not see, out of all the data research I've looked at, forecast models I've looked at with regards to lumber, conversations with contractors who build houses for us, you know, it's kind of like farming, you know, once seed prices go up, once fertilizer goes up, I've never seen it come back down. And you know why? Because those farmers pay it. The crop has to get in the field, right? And so once these vendors realize that those prices get paid, you know, they're going to mess with us market-wise. They're going to teeter down and up, but it's not going to teeter clear down to pre-COVID levels. So I think those lumber prices are here to stay. I mean, the cost of building a home is up because people pay it. We're not going to see it. We're going to see fluctuation, but we're not going to see back down to pre-COVID levels. I just don't see that happening because the demand we have is all great. Now, let me preface this also with interest rates. The demand that we had a strong demand buyer-wise before and during the pandemic. You know, real estate did not sleep, contrary to popular belief in our area. And when I talk real estate, it is Kearney area. I don't care what's going on somewhere else. Kearney area is all I'm talking about and will always talk about because that's the service area that I deliver my self to. But you know, talking to some of these contractors, one of the things the fear was, well, gosh, I don't know if we should build anything. Maybe we shouldn't do anything. And my conversation was, it doesn't matter what kind of market we're in. People need a place to live and rent. Doesn't matter. And those people have already proved that they're willing to pay it. So it goes back to the farmer analogy that I've used, okay? So I've told them the worst thing we can do is nothing because all it's going to do is exacerbate our inventory problem. Okay, you with me there? Mm-hmm. And so you got to keep going. And yes, prices go up, but people will succumb to that. The market will succumb to that. And honestly, I don't think we even have a market. There's not enough data rolling around right now because of the inventory problem to say, yeah, we've got a market. This is what it's doing. We've got stupidity is what's going on and anxiety riddled action going on. And so conversations and scripts and things to discuss with our seller clients in addition to the buyer clients is huge and heavy right now. But the lumber thing is not going to change. And I will tell you, you know, our current administration hurt us as well when it comes to lumber. You know, we have two big domestic suppliers. They've never shut down during COVID. They've ramped up the game with COVID. What's hurt us a little bit is transportation. You know, the railroads have changed their model of operating here recently that has congested the supply and hurt the supply. That's one problem. Number two, we bring a lot of lumber from Canada. And our current administration, guess what they killed? The Trans-American pipeline that was coming in for oil. And the Canadians are not real happy with us right now. And they are getting back to us, if you will, on what's going on there. Don't kid yourself. That's exactly what's going on. And so when that pipeline that Trump had going and everything was rocking and rolling, you seen the boom. You seen what lumber was doing at that point. Well, guess
Right.
what? All that stopped and all that's changed.
So now there's a huge demand for lumber and they're raising tariffs at the same time to kind of compact or compound that effect. When you look at the Kearney market, as a percentage of total home sales, what do you think the new housing market is at? Like, is a new construction home being sold every 1 in 5 transactions, or what do you see the market breakdown there?
Oh, I wish I could have done some data research on that to be accurate. I'm going off my opinion, my gut on this, and just what I see. This is not data based right now because I don't have that in front of me. But I would tell you probably, I, I wouldn't even say 1 in 5. I would probably say 1 in 10 is more like what new construction is going. And let me also discuss that there's been a lot of custom homes put up new construction wise that don't even get in the market. You know,
Right,
they're not
correct.
part of the MLS, not something we deal with because it's a private transfer, obviously, in that regards. But there's that still going on. But we just never had enough. You know, we just don't have enough of those contractors that can do a large scale, can put up 10 houses at one shot. You know, we have a lot of contractors that'll spec a one house, maybe 2 houses at one time, but we have enough of a demand to get an investor to come in here and put up houses on a row house situation and do something at large capacity. But why nobody ever chooses Kearney or sees that the way I do, I have never figured that out. And
Yeah,
it's
it's
not that we don't talk about it, we talk about it, but it's here and now. That's a huge need we could fill right now if somebody has that ability, you know,
definitely,
investor
and
for
it,
stocking and investor wise.
right, and I mean, it's really concerning because you mentioned, well, from a builder's perspective, why would we build? Um, that's really concerning because you always hear in the Kearney market there's a higher need for affordable housing, more affordable housing. One, no one's yet to define what affordable housing is for this market.
Yeah,
And number two, if a new construction home is being sold once out of every 10 transactions, that limits the ability for this older housing product to become available for
that's
up and
right.
comers, young professionals that might want to put in a little sweat equity into the house and things of that nature. So that's really concerning.
That's really concerning, and that's heavily on our mind. And I think a lot of the existing homeowners that would have entered the market because of COVID by staring at their four walls for the last year have decided, hey man, you know, I think maybe I will stay put. Maybe I'll just do a cash out refinance and let's do a master suite. Let's update the kitchen, and then they now all of a sudden become content with where they're at because it's like, well, gosh, I don't want to enter this market because I can't find anything. So you see how the problem just exacerbates itself. You know, it's like remodeling. Sure, I want to tear the ceiling out. Well, guess what? We got to do electrical. We got to do this. We got to do that. You know, there's more than just tearing the ceiling out. It goes with the market too. And I think, you know, buyers are smart now. They have a lot of data at their fingertips, and you know, there's a lot of opinions out there, and that's what I mean by risk assess. Everybody has to take that with a grain of salt, has to understand where their sources are coming from, but the source never will beat somebody who pounds the ground like my staff and myself, my agents and myself. It just, there's no better data what's going on when you have somebody good, because not all agents are created equal. That's a fact, you know.
Right. Um, what are some things that the local governments can do to kind of work with home builders and even investors that want to come in and, you know, bring a bigger project to the Kearney market? It seems like maybe there's not always a will to kind of compromise on certain things, especially with zoning and things of that nature. I mean, they've already decided that they're going to interfere with how people conduct business. What are some things that they can do to help promote growth instead of restrict it?
Well, you know, the city of Kearney has tried to relax some building requirements and development requirements as far as the development of residential development. And to be honest with you, I don't think that worked well. The intent was good, okay, but it didn't work very well. I think what would be attractive in that situation is, well, number one, City of Kearney's got to get some better leadership on getting a better plan going, in my opinion. And that is reaching out to brokers like me and agents like me that really have a vested interest and a good heart to push this in the right direction. And one of those things, besides residential, there's other ways to be creative with zoning restrictions to offer housing. One of those big demands I see, and I'm trying to put the information out, is accessory dwelling units. Okay, we need a subdivision like that that is infrastructurally based for something like that. And I'll get to that in a second for more elaboration. But it has to be zoned for that. And so if somebody wants to live in that particular area, they know what they're doing. But it can't be all, investor driven. It has to be owner occupant driven, because then you get the pride of ownership. And that's where the good subdivisions come from. And you get more of that community feel and the community sense. And so accessory dwelling unit, let me give you an example of this. I live it myself right now. Is, my mother-in-law come from a small town in Nebraska, okay, had a wonderful property, but it sells for $65,000. I mean, okay, well, you can't buy a lot for building a house in Kearney, Nebraska hardly anymore for $65,000, the lot only. You see what I'm saying? So there's a lot of people that want to live in this town. And quite honestly, I don't know where all these people are coming from, but they're coming. Okay. We're trying to figure that out ourselves. And so the accessory dwelling unit, what I'm getting at, is just a smaller unit on a single family lot behind a residential house. So I could build a house personally for myself, build a smaller structure. It's capped in size. It's capped in things. It has to be consistent with certain things. And that also falls with restrictive covenants, maybe with a development, but the zoning has to be there for this. Okay, city currently doesn't allow this, but, and infrastructure is the biggest thing. It has to be developed on the onset in order to make this work. You can't just buy an existing house and put it in, because now you got infrastructure problems, you see. But I could move my mother-in-law into that thing, and she only needs 800 square feet. You follow me? And she can pay me rent for that as I live in the big residential house. Likewise, when I'm 70 years old and don't want to go to assisted living yet, I'm not ready for that, I could move into that smaller unit myself, still live at what I own, and then rent the big house out to a family who's younger, and still get that income for me. You know what I'm saying? So there's some flexibility there, and that's what I mean. We have to really diagnose that creativity, and nobody wants to have those conversations yet. I don't understand it, but they don't.
Why is it? Do you think it's just the status quo has worked for so long?
Bottom line's leadership.
Okay.
And actually taking a true look at this thing. It goes beyond political. We have to have people in leadership that do care. That's in my opinion what it is.
Do you think that's because or the reason this has persisted for so long is because the community doesn't necessarily understand or know how to gather facts about the people that they elect in their own local areas? Because it seems like the emphasis is always on the presidential election or who the next governor or congressman is going to be. But very rarely do we know the people that we're voting for in our own community.
Yes, I think local issues get overshadowed a lot when it comes to election and the political scene. Absolutely it does. And, and that's why it's important, Hunter. You and I have talked about this before, but, it's important to know who you're voting for, and you have to ask those questions. And at the end of the day, it comes down to the relationships on, talking to your friends. Hey, where are you guys getting some information here? Or calling me up out of the blue saying, hey, Slack, I've kind of been thinking about this. Is there any way anything you can cite that would help us, that's what it takes. And it just seems like, I don't know, as the world's changing with that, and not sure why. I'm not, into psychological evaluations by no means, but I just see it, and I just wish we've kind of lost our community togetherness for one goal, one purpose, to solve a problem, and it does come with your elected officials. It does require people to be involved. And I see people a lot don't want to be involved, which is a bad choice. Bad choice. You got to be involved.
Absolutely. Let's talk about multifamily real estate a little bit. That's primarily what I'm looking at as an investor. With interest rates being at 3%, even below 3% in some cases, like me and you talked previously, this is the first time you guys have been completely occupied in all of the rental properties that you guys manage. That's also another concern for college students moving in, or young professionals that want to start a career here in Kearney, but they may not be ready to purchase a home. What are some things that investors like me or other people that acquire property, what are some things that they can do to kind of maybe get the momentum going on some of these issues, or provide a better product for the tenants?
Very good question. Contrary to popular belief, we need any kind of property in Kearney, Nebraska, if you're looking to be an investor, okay? There are people who need a $500 rental unit, okay? There are people that will pay $1,500, but we need it all. So one of the best advices I can give someone is get involved. You have to start somewhere, whether that's a single family home you rent out, whether that's a fourplex, duplex, triplex, multi-unit apartment complex. We need it all. So don't be afraid of that at any level, but start somewhere, get involved, learn what you need to invest in. Commercial money right now is relatively cheap. So right now commercial's moving. Everything except with regards to retail and office, that's not been a very good market right now. But the rest of the commercial sector, which includes multi-unit dwellings, which includes freestanding or land or that type of stuff, has been very good. It's really picked up here in Kearney in the last 6 months. So that sector has been really nice to have, because everything was a little tight before, especially with COVID. But a guy's just got to get in and get involved. And yes, it takes a little bit of money and a little bit effort to get started. Hunter, you went through this. You can do a great job of explaining this, but financing commercial is way different from financing mortgage as a primary residence. People have to understand there's way different terms, way different. When I say terms, I'm talking terms of the loan. Mm-hmm. And once you're familiar with that, everybody's different. Cap rates come into place, return rates, and everybody's different with what they see of that and what their goal is, but I own several rentals myself, and being in Kearney, Nebraska, as hunters, you figured out, has been a great owning real estate has been great. Absolutely. I've never seen anything wrong with that. And besides that, it's built my net worth up tremendously just by owning those. And for full disclosure, I have no money in the stock market. I don't need somebody to decide for me where to put my money. I'm going to put my money where I know and my expertise is, and that's real estate. And it's been good to me. If somebody wants to do the same, you need to get hooked up with somebody that can offer you the right information and help you with those goals. And that's simply it, I guess.
Okay. Let's talk about land briefly. I don't know how connected this is to the Kearney market, but I did see an article about Bill Gates becoming the largest farm owner in the United States, and he's even been investing in farms in Nebraska. Can you kind of expand a little bit on why someone like Bill Gates would want to do that, and what are the impacts that could potentially be seen for local farmers?
By the way, for disclosure, his entity did buy a farm, a quarter of ground down there in Phelps County and down by Holdridge here recently. Really? So, I will affirm your statement on that. That is true. To answer that, smart people watch smart people. And I think Bill Gates has recognized people don't want to talk about this, especially political. They're never going to tell you this because I'm not sure they even understand it, to be honest with you. Okay, so again, cite your sources, know where that's coming from, learn it and study it. But inflation is here. It's not coming, it's here. It's already here. Look at the price of homes. Look at the price of lumber. Getting ketchup packages. Okay, there's a shortage there. I talked to a restaurant owner here. They're changing their menu because Tuesday wing night, they can't get bone-in chicken wings. Okay, is that a supply issue? I think it comes down to delivery. I don't think it comes down to the raising of it, and bringing it to the market's kind of the problem. But inflation's here. And so I think Bill Gates has recognized that inflation is here, and he has opted that land is a good investment for him to park his money to ride this inflationary a wave, if you will, to get through this thing. Some people go gold to silver. I have some of that myself. And, you have to find something that's going to ride this wave, because your money in a savings account is going to go down. When they have, our economy was good. It was just pent up. Okay. And now we're coming out. And so we see this explosion. But what the government has done is give everybody free money. That free money is bad money that goes against good money, which then devalues the dollar. Okay. That's it. That's really what inflation is. And that's what's going on right now. So people who don't earn this money get this free money, and now they don't care because it's free money. We're going to pay more. We don't care. We just want it. Okay. And so that demand also goes up, creates a shortage, and on and on and on down the line. But I think Bill Gates has found a reasonable place to park his gazillions of dollars into an asset that's going to perform for him. And in this case, it's going to be real estate. And year in, year out, guys, and the long-term real estate is in Kearney, Nebraska. Again, I speak Kearney, Nebraska. I do not serve any other market, but Kearney, Nebraska has been nothing but a good market for real estate.
It really has. I mean, you look at the past 20 years, the home prices in Kearney, I mean, never really experienced a correction. If anything, it plateaus and then it continues to go up. Mm-hmm. And I don't foresee that changing anytime soon. And I really think as much as we can do more, I think our city has done a great job of, being a great place to live and raise a family and things like that. We have a good school system, low crime. So it's a great place to live.
Yeah. I haven't bought a rental property for the last several years simply because I cannot compete with my goals of return and my style of property because of the owner occupant. They're driving a lot of this thing. So that goes to show you that we have a huge need for an owner occupant problem. And so it's caused a problem for investors like myself, like you, Hunter, and anybody else that's listening to get into the game. But a smart investor does buy these things, rentals in every market. You should really buy one. Don't go crazy. That's not what I'm saying, but don't be afraid to pick one up in a high market and a low market, because it will all even you out and actually balances you out well. Now, yeah, everybody loves to buy a property coming down on the crash, right? Everybody likes to buy low. I get that, but there's more to it investing in real estate than just those things. There's other metrics that one has to look at to be savvy for one's wealth.
Absolutely. Well, Pat, is there anything else that you'd like to share with us before we close out the podcast?
No, Hunter, thanks for asking me on. This was great. I enjoy this. I have a lot of on-ground knowledge that I'm not afraid to share with somebody. I'm a pretty selfless guy. I like to see people succeed. That's not an issue for me. But I encourage your listeners, if they're wanting to get in this game, hook up with somebody that you can have, like you and I, Hunter, have a relationship with each other to help each other out. There's questions I ask Hunter, guys, if you want to know the truth and what he's seeing and what he feels too. So it's one of those things that a guy has to just not live in that fear. What overcomes fear is knowledge. What overcomes knowledge is wisdom. and you put all those key components together and things work. And don't be afraid to fail. Fail's part of success.
Absolutely. If I could add one more piece of advice to what you said, it would be, don't be afraid to collaborate instead of compete with people in your market. Not everyone is necessarily a rival or competitor. So don't be afraid if you're just starting out to share your ideas or reach out to someone like Pat.
That's right. And I'm going to tell you something. Being fearful does not create allies. Okay. You need to, I like the term ally. Be allies with people, even competitors, because at some point they may need you or you need them, or an opportunity is going to come up that they may want to transfer out of a property that they'll call you on and say, hey, are you interested in this? I'm going to offer it to you. I've seen that all happen all the time. So don't burn a bridge, ally up. You know, you don't have to be best friends, but simply be a human being.
Absolutely.
That's what it is. Have a relationship.
Okay. Pat, if someone wants to reach out to you about buying a home, selling a home, or just wanted to learn more, what are some ways that they can reach out to you?
Good question there. Thank you for asking that. Got a good group here, good army here in this office. You can reach us at 308-234-5550. I encourage you to go to our new website. It's very user-friendly. A lot of information there, and you can see all our profiles and property search in and commercial. We're starting a big commercial spin-off of our site too, so that's in development as well. But that's www.Century21 C21 Midlands.pro, Pro. Okay.
Okay. All righty. Well, thanks, Pat. I appreciate you being on the show.
You bet. Thanks for your time, Hunter. Enjoyed it. Take care of yourself. Everybody, take care of yourself.